Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Watch News Weekly, and I'm here with Marco. Today's topic is going to be Geneva Watch Days. I brought the most knowledgeable watch geek in the company to talk about some of these pieces because some of those get pretty technical, pretty geeky, and pretty badass if you ask me. Of course, we'll also discuss Only Watch, or two Only Watches really that were just revealed. When we last did a video on Only Watch, it was two of the watches weren't revealed. Well, three actually.
Yeah, we're still waiting on the one from Patek Philippe.
We're waiting on Patek, and
there's MB&F and Rexhep, which recently.
Right. So we're just waiting on Patek. But let's jump right into it. And the first topic is going to be the Moser MB&F Streamliner Pandemonium, again for watch only. Now Moser and MB&F are actually coming. Oh, Moser is actually coming out with that watch, obviously minus the Panda.
Yeah.
I actually sent Max a message, and my message to Max read the following. I'll just go verbatim on this.
This is a flex for you guys, you know.
It's not a flex. I met Max a few times, and I'm a big. There's no secret. I'm a Max fanboy, and I literally wrote to him, "I don't think I've ever had a watch make me sexually aroused. This is a literal mic drop." Again, Max is pretty humble. He said thank you and so on and so forth. But let's talk about the inner workings. I'll let you go into that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a minute repeater, and then it's just got the flying balance, which is typical from MB&F. But we've seen these kind of minute repeaters before from Moser. The only difference being, obviously, it's in a Streamliner case, which is kind of their distinct sports watch. Now, I would say the Streamliner, generally speaking, I'm not the biggest fan of, other than the chronograph. I'm not a big fan of the perpetual or even the time-only model. But this here is just a knockout design. I mean, I think this takes it to the next level. It's really going to help elevate the Streamliner line. I think this is, it's just a knockout release. It's incredible. Now,
the benefit or the little panda behind it is about children's dystrophy, I believe.
Yeah, so Only Watch is about muscular dystrophy. I guess This is kind of like a throwback to essentially seeing things through kind of a child's eye view, or it's meant to be like kind of fun and whimsical. But yeah, I think overall,
quick technical question for you. You're making a minute repeater. You have gongs going off, right? Use of material here is supposed to make the acoustics really, really nice on this watch. What happens when you start adding things on top of those gongs, like the little paws that are on there? That makes it extremely difficult. You literally have to readjust the whole thing based on that, because you're adding additional weight to the gongs. Sure. It's not just about, I'm just going to take something and slap it on a part on the watch. This makes the execution of the actual Panda piece a lot more difficult, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Listen, I'm not an audio specialist here. But
I'm not talking about audio. I'm talking about strictly mechanics, right?
Yeah.
Because now they've added those little paws
I think
where the
weight
gongs
is probably
are.
Indifferent to overall the sound of the gongs itself, and I'm sure it doesn't have any effect on the resonance property of the actual repeater. I'm sure they must have taken it into consideration, but yeah, anytime you're adding kind of additional weight or things that essentially obscure the resonance properties of the sound of the repeater, it's possible that it may affect.
I'm going to give this an A++.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely in love with this particular watch. I estimate bidding to go over $1 million. You?
Yeah.
Over under $1 million?
I think maybe under $1 million.
I'll go over.
Okay.
All right. Next topic. People pronounce his name Rexhepi. I heard people say Rexhep.
Yeah, it's
Rexhepi is what I heard. Okay, yeah. So this chronometric anti-magnetic only watch, which is an anti-magnetic watch. Now this is basically, at a glance, an RRCC, but it's an RCA. This is a rework movement. I think they moved the balance wheel somewhere, and it's positioned at 6 o'clock now. Yeah. So this is not just an anti-magnetic version of the RRCC. It's actually its own watch. Thoughts?
I mean, a watch like this, you buy it purely for the pride of ownership, right? This is probably going to be something that they come out with in serial production at some point. Brand new movement. The case is also reworked, made by Jean-Pierre Hagman, who's very, very famous for being the man who made pretty much the best sounding minute repeaters for Patek Philippe and the who's who of the watch industry. Rexhep being, probably the most hyped of the kind of modern independents, because
I think he's the most hyped.
Yeah, because listen, you just can't get a watch from him, right? It's that simple. It's such an exclusive club. But yeah, the watches are finished to the nines. The look of the watch is very retro inspired. Obviously, I would say based on kind of anti-magnetic Patek Philippe's from back in the day.
Who made the first anti-magnetic watch?
I think it was IWC actually. Was it IWC with the reference 666? Okay, fair enough.
Tissot actually made the first magnetic watch, and then Rolex followed closely after that. I think IWC.
Rolex is 1 year after IWC.
I think it was Tissot in the 30s, and it went to IWC, and I think after Rolex picked up. So here's my take on this. Obviously, Rexhep can pretty much make any watch out there. It's going to be a hit right away.
It's going to sell, 100%.
Honestly, I don't know what the retail price is. It's going to come out of the gate, I'm assuming, for somewhere around the $40,000 to $60,000 price range. Let's say if this was a retail piece.
For retail, no way. It's going to be much more expensive than that. I would assume this would be easily 6 figures retail.
For what?
For this watch, 100%. 100%.
What was the AK06 retail?
I think retail on it?
68,000, I believe.
Don't quote me.
I don't think this goes over to retail when it goes into serial production, but we all know it's not gonna trade. That's the problem. They don't trade.
No,
and people are gonna approximate the value at $500,000. I think people are gonna go berserk over this.
It's gonna be $1 million plus.
I mean, look, it's gonna be $1 million plus. All the Rexhep, fanboys are gonna go after it and they're gonna try to buy it. Personally, I'm not uber impressed. I am impressed with the watchmaker. I'm impressed with the finishing. I am impressed with the watchmaker himself. But to go back and do an anti-magnetic in the world where it's basically obsolete, pretty much every watch today is anti-magnetic, right? So
to a certain
why bring
degree,
that back?
Listen, to a certain degree, there's silicon parts that are used oftentimes, but I guess it's just it's a throwback to the history of watch. I mean, that's all it is.
I don't like
respect for.
I don't like, and it's not just Rexhep. I don't like a company putting out something into Only Watch as a way to advertise a line that they're potentially coming out with. To me, Only Watch has got to be something exciting, and I wish Rexhep did something a lot more complicated, and it likes what Moser did with MB&F, even though they're also using that watch to push the new minute repeater, but in the very least, it is a minute repeater. You know what I mean? Where this time-only watch, anti-magnetic, not uber impressed. It'll still fetch over $1 million. Let's move to the next topic, and that's some of the new models that were introduced this week in Geneva Days. So MB&F added to the lineup of HM9s a green and blue sapphire HM9. The question of the day, does it or does it not look like a Giant Johnson? The answer is yes, especially if you look at the purple one that he made in the past. However, you know me, I'm a fanboy, so I think that Max can make the Flavor Flav clock and do it backwards, and I will still love it. Look, double balance. You have the watch itself, right? Not something we don't know about already if you're not familiar. This is a double balance, and what's in the middle?
It's a differential.
So differential is in the middle between the two balances. I think that this watch executed in a crystal is absolutely amazing. Do we have a picture of the blue one? Because I see the green one on the screen. The blue one is the one that does it for me. Again, every time you look at an MB&F piece, I know I can't unsee it. I know I can't unsee it either. I think you pair this up with the what do you call it? The AP concept. Come on. I know, Mark. I know it's tough.
What's it called?
The Marvel watch.
Oh, the Spider-Man. Not the
Spider-Man. the Black Panther, and I think you have a perfect combination of two watches representing a male part, a very important male part. But with that said, take all that away. I would wear that watch all day, every day, simply because it looks like there's nothing out in the market that even remotely comes close to it, unless we're talking about, which is the HM with the two.
I know exactly.
The racing one.
Oh, I forget.
I think it's an
HM.
Seven, HM7, right?
Sure, 7.
That's the only thing that even remotely comes close to this. This thing looks like it's out of this, out of this world.
To achieve this, like we've seen this before, Roger Dubuis has done this, Philips Dufour has the duality, etc. I mean, even MB&F has the LM2 that does this also. But to achieve it with the double flying balance wheels, also in a sapphire case.
Can you dumb that down? Double balance flying wheels.
Yeah. So essentially, MB&F is known for their flying balance wheels, which essentially you have the two balance wheels are suspended by a bridge up in the air, right? So
it's sort of a thing holding the balance.
Exactly, right?
But you see it on the picture.
Now, to achieve that technically and have the time read, essentially as a driver's watch, because that's the whole kind of theme.
Right, you're sitting and you can see.
Exactly, the theme of this watch is extremely difficult. I mean, to achieve something like this, not to mention the sapphire case, because the three-dimensionality of this watch, I mean, I can't even imagine how much sapphire they must go through making a case like this. It must be.
My thing is that I had a buddy reach out and he cracked the crystal in his Purnell. And it was the Purnell where the crystal sort of went down this way, where you see the tourbillon cage. And that's just one curve. Imagine this. Imagine cracking this. I think this is just, oof. Anyway, again, I'm going to give A+ because I
looks
like
great.
MB&F.
It's awesome.
It looks,
I mean,
it looks
listen,
awesome.
Nothing new.
Green
We've
or
seen
blue?
this before.
Green or blue?
Blue for sure.
Blue all
I like
day.
this,
Next
yeah.
topic. Next watch was Bulgari Octo Finissimo Carbon Gold. It's a watch that people more and more, like it's funny, like sometimes I'll gauge interest in a watch by the number of DMs I get in my Instagram. And I don't mean a quantity of them, but in regards to a particular topic. And more I'm getting DMs, guys asking me questions in regards to the Octo Finissimo line. Now, I'm going to be a little bit biased because this is a Genta product, right? It's got Genta pedigree in it, so I do love the overall design. But the biggest thing I love about the Octo Finissimo is I love the way it looks aesthetically, and I'm not talking about the new one, just in general, and it's the comfort on the wrist. It's a big watch.
Yeah, the only thing I really dislike from Bulgari typically is like this quest for making the thinnest watch in the world, but I think this is a really nice change of the guard from Bulgari, which is typically a classical brand using classical materials, now experimenting with new materials, right? I think this is a step in the right direction. It's hip, it's modern.
Listen, they're finally catching on. I mean, AP did this 10 years ago, if not more.
This is really nice too. This is the GPHG winning. It's perfectly symmetrical perpetual calendar with a retrograde.
It's got a hefty price tag, 100,000 euro retail, I believe.
It's extremely expensive, but don't forget, you're also paying for that upfront R&D. Bulgari never having made something like this before, but it's a really, really nice looking watch.
Listen, to see Bulgari come up, look, personally, when it comes to Bulgari jewelry, I think in the world of jewelry, Bulgari is actually my favorite. Right, in terms of design, in terms of their jewelry overall, closely followed by Cartier, Van Cleef, and maybe Harry Winston, right? And I'm finally starting, the biggest issue Bulgari had when they stepped into the world of watches is they're still being labeled as a jeweler. Where now, having the R&D, having done the research and the development, and being able to come out with their own perpetual calendar in a very avant-garde way, such as this all-carbon watch. I'd be curious to hold that in my hand, see how well that carbon will hold up. If you remember when Audemars Piguet came out with the Team Alinghi all-carbon, there were issues. The bezel would get messed up really easily. They've had some other watches that they've come out with, like the Grand Prix, where they did the carbon bezel, then later they changed it out for the ceramic bezel. So for me, listen, time will show. Is this a watch that people are going to be jumping out to grab at 100,000 euros? I don't think so, because it's still a Bulgari. But on the secondary market, I think these will do extremely well. The plain ones will probably fetch a decent amount of money out of the gate.
Just because the price point is more accessible.
What do you know what the plain one retailed for?
Probably, I would say like mid-20s to 30s if I had to estimate. Yeah,
it's not bad. Let's move on to the next watch that came out of Geneva Watch Week, and that is the This is a bit of a enigma to me. All right. So when they came out with the Vanta Black, when I saw that watch, I was like, wow. Remember the whole video where the watch, where the camera pans and the watch literally disappears. It's absorbs like 99.99999% of radiation of visible spectrum. So therefore, it's like the true black. It's like the black hole, whatever you want to call it. What I don't understand is you come out with a tourbillon concept, and you come out with a center seconds Vanta Black and red gold. The whole concept behind Vanta Black is for the watch to be all black. Now all of a sudden, you have rose gold markers, you have rose gold hands, and you have a rose gold case. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Yeah, I mean, I like the watch. I think I understand where you're coming from. I think it makes it a bit more legible, which is maybe sometimes the issue with people have with Vanta Black. I agree. It doesn't really make sense. I think the whole point is to have that Vanta Black look. But the thing is again, it's just nothing. I've seen this before for Moser. You know what I mean? I look at this, I'm like, it's not exciting. There's nothing. Well, it's just two watches that they've done over and over again. It's just another variation. I do love the tourbillon, and the reason I love the tourbillon because it doesn't have the hour markers, right? Yeah. Or the minute markers. Yeah. No, the hour markers. I wish that if they took the automatic and they took away the hour markers and just left me with rose gold hands, much like they did in the tourbillon, I think that would be more in sync with the release, because these are two different watches aesthetically. The tourbillon reminds me of what was the AP Code 1159 tourbillon they came out with.
the Aventurine one.
The Aventurine one, right? Just plain Jane, fixation on a beautiful dial.
Oh, sorry, the Onyx.
The Onyx tourbillon, right? The fixation on the tourbillon, nothing takes away from, which is, I absolutely love the tourbillon. As far as the automatic is concerned, I would probably pass because it's just reminiscent of just yet another watch.
Yeah, they've done that before. Listen, I'll say this. I like what Moser is doing recently. If you've seen their new Fume enamel perpetual calendars, those are absolutely incredible. But this, I think this just misses the mark.
So what would you like to see from them going forward? Because I know you're a fan of the brand. I'm a fan of the brand. What would you like to see them going
I'd like
forward?
to see them scale back production. They're just making way too many watches for like an independent niche watch brand. I'd also like to see them come out with something new. They've done the Pioneer, the Venture, this has been out for so long. Even I'd like to see them focus more on the sports range. Like I like the idea behind the what's it called, the
Streamliner.
The Streamliner. I'd like to see a new Streamliner, like another sports watch with an integrated bracelet.
Yeah, how about a sports watch on a strap?
Yeah, that would be nice too.
Let's go to the next topic, and that's going to be Petermann Bédat. New split-second chronograph. This is all you, Marco. I know you were drooling when you first saw this watch.
No, this was released before Geneva Watch Days, but I just wanted to include it because it's absolutely incredible. I think it's the first in-house manual winding chronograph that really rivals the Datograph. So Petermann Bédat, for those...
That's a big statement.
It is a big statement, but I mean, I think it definitely deserves it, right? Because this is not, a slightly modified version of the Lamagna movement that Patek calls their in-house, chronograph movement. but this is a true top-bottom in-house chronograph movement that's absolutely incredible. Monopusher split second. And I mean, first of all,
talk about the column wheel and the horizontal clutch, how that differentiates from a typical.
I mean, listen, it's essentially just the typical chronograph system that you'd expect from a high-end chronograph, right? Allowing it to essentially run continuously without the watch breaking. But the point is the movement behind this, the finishing, the incredible movement architecture, it really is, without a doubt, I think, the best chronograph that has come out since the Datograph. Again, bold statement, but I think it certainly deserves it. And you know what? It's interesting because one of the two of them, I forget which one, actually comes from Longa. So he worked at the high-end watchmaking of Longa, and he would work on their complications, and then went off and partnered with somebody else that he was familiar with. And it's incredible.
The dial design reminds me of an AK06 from Rexhep,
yeah,
a little bit.
Slightly open work.
Slightly open work.
Yeah.
Kind of gives me that vibe, especially the finishers on the dial, whichever dial is not open. I will say, what's the price tag on this?
It's expensive. It's I think over 200,000 Swiss francs. But it's a split-second chronograph. You know what I mean?
I understand, but they're jumping into sort of the Patek Philippe
Well,
range.
you know what? It's sold out before it was ever even released.
How many they're making, do you know?
12.
Oh.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, to make a watch like this, it's going to sell out. It's going to be something that's going to be a very good seller, and again, I think it's really going to go down as one of the best chronographs.
I'm just curious as to why we haven't seen a split-second chronograph modified in the likes of what, let's say, Richard Mille did with their 004 when they had a single clutch split-second chronograph. Since then, that was still a Renault and Papy product, I believe, that chronograph. 100%. What I don't understand is why haven't we seen that, especially among the independents, to take a because they're still using the traditional split-second chronograph, double clutch. For me, it's...
Who have we really seen do it? I mean, there's MB&F with the new, what's it called, their new Evo chronograph.
I mean, that chronograph it's in a league of its own.
It's in a league of its own, but the point is it's so difficult to make something like this. For somebody to come up with a concept that allows for one, a functional watch, and two, that keeps accurate time because of the loss of amplitude.
The loss of amplitude is tremendous.
Right, exactly. So that's really the difficult part, is solving that part of the equation, and not to mention coming up with a chronograph movement that looks good, right? Like Sylvain Pinot came out with a new chronograph also. He's not in the list, but he came out with a new chronograph that was like, whatever, it's a modified ETA movement. Okay, it looks unrecognizable, and it's finished to the nines, but there's nothing new about this.
So the last question is, who worked for Longa?
I think it was, I forget. It's one of the two partners. I forget who it is.
I got you. Do we have any more topics on the news today? Yes, we do. And we have a Patek 3939. No, we have the black enamel and pink gold Breguet Classique 7637. Repetition minutes. Did I say that? Okay.
Yeah, close enough.
Go ahead, give me the proper.
Repetition.
Yeah, I'm not going to even try that. All right, so look, it's, again, is this something we've never seen before? I'm sorry, I can't see a Patek 3939.
It's just a stinger to the heart. Breguet makes such beautiful watches. This watch is so nice. And then they put it in a 42 millimeter case size for a classical dress watch with a.
That watch exists in an automatic or in a regular with no complications.
I don't understand what they're thinking. And even if you look at the movement shot, the movement uses some old Bosch. I forget what the exact move. It's probably, I would say, like a Piguet or something. No, maybe not a Piguet. It's probably what did they use? Oh my God, it's the same ones that Blancpain uses. I forget the name. But in any case, it's so tiny compared to the case. Like, look at the size of it. You know what I mean? Like, why don't you scale that to like a 38 millimeter watch that's universally well wearing, make it in, you know, somewhat kind of.
They didn't need the real estate.
I mean, I don't get it. This is such a nice looking watch that they just made it 42 millimeters.
I feel like they're just behind. You know, bigger and better has been, you know, scaling down for the last couple of years, and now they just now want to come out with a 42 millimeter dress watch, which I actually like that. I like the 42 millimeter Breguets because, you know, you don't get a lot of options for bigger Breguets. I wish to see a sports line from Breguet, and I'm not talking about the revival of the Type 20 and 21 or Naval and any of those. I want to see a brand new, from scratch, developed sports model from Breguet.
And something that isn't the Marine reimagined for the 18th time.
Exactly, not the Marine reimagined, not the Type 20 or 22. We're up to Type 22 now?
Whatever it is.
Not those reimagined. I want something new. I am a big fan of Breguet.
It's such an incredible brand. It's maybe the most important watch brand in the history of
It is the most important watch brand in the history. The problem is it's under the Swatch umbrella, which is why when you mentioned Blancpain earlier, you know, they have the luxury of being able to reuse certain things across multitude of brands. I get it. It saves money. I understand all that from a business perspective. But, you know, you take away from that craftsmanship, you take away from the history, you take away. I almost wish somebody would buy Breguet from under the Swatch umbrella. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. If I ever have enough money, maybe I'll do it. But
I think that the Swatch group just doesn't care. You know what I mean? You look at the top producers for them. You know, the likes of Tissot and Hamilton, Omega, Swatch, even. They just make so much money for the company that they just say, like, here, Blancpain, Jacques Dro, Breguet, do whatever you want.
Jacques Dro, what a wonderful brand.
I mean, it's just like, dead in the water.
When was the last time somebody asked you for Jacques Dro? What about the mechanical minute repeaters with the birds?
Oh,
I mean, it's just insane.
They're works of art, but I mean, there's just no push behind it. There's no life behind these brands.
You don't see ambassadors. You don't see it in the mainstream media or social media. You just don't see it. Like if I'm Breguet, I'm taking this watch and I'm putting it on just about any celebrity I can get a hold of, and I'm putting it on their wrist. Here, just take it for free and wear it. Explaining it, you know, because the heritage is there, the history is there. And again, to me, it's just a shame. I still buy complicated Breguets left and right. I just bought a Tourbillon today, actually. And guess what? When this comes out onto the secondary, I will buy this as well, but not at its retail.
70 off.
Exactly, not at its retail price tag, and it's extremely, extremely unfortunate. Who knows? Maybe things will turn around. But again, as a corporation, as a group, Swatch Group, I understand them. They make more money off Omega and Swatch than they'll ever will with Breguet, Blancpain, and Jacques Dro combined. And that's just the reality of it. It is still a business. Well, I think this was our last topic. Overall impression of Geneva Days?
So far so good. De Bethune came out with like another kind of blue model, which actually we probably should have added in here. Which listen, it was nice. Nothing new. It's just a smaller case.
Geneva Days is just kind of like that. Let's wait till Watches and Wonders kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
to hold us over.
Yeah, it's kind of the independent circle jerk. No,
independent circle jerk.
That's the wrong way to put it. Yeah,
that works.
It's essentially where all the independents come out with their watches, and it's a good time for people to celebrate independent watchmaking. And listen, there's a lot of good release, a lot of good stuff to look forward to. But I mean, I got to say, this was kind of a miss. It was like, whatever.
I'll take. I don't know if I had to pick one. I'm gonna go with the MB&F
But
HM9
that's not even Geneva Watch Days. That's the only watch.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, look, it is what it is. Sometimes these things are disappointing, sometimes they're not. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're here to report the news. This is what we got for you this week, guys. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.